This is a video lesson for day 6 of our decimals unit. The day 6 learning target is I can use area models and the number line to compare decimal numbers and record comparisons using less than, greater than, and equal to. So today we're going to be looking at comparing decimals using a few different strategies. So let's go ahead and jump into the first strategy here, which is comparing decimals with the area models. So we've been using area models to represent decimals already, and so now we're going to look at how we can use them to compare two different decimals to each other. So I'm going to be starting out with the problem of comparing 15 hundredths to 51 hundredths. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to represent this first decimal, 15 hundredths, on the area model. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in 15 of the hundredths. And then on the second area model, I'm going to fill in 51 hundredths. So I'm going to represent 51 hundredths on this area model. It's going to take me a little while using this fill function here. So I'm getting close to 40. There's 50 and 51 hundredths. And so now what I do after I've represented both of the decimals on the area model is I see which one is more. And it's pretty clear that 51 hundredths is larger because there's more of the area model shaded in. So now I just need to write my comparison sentence. So I can write 15 hundredths is less than 51 hundredths, or 51 hundredths is greater than 15 hundredths. So all we're doing is looking at which one is more filled in, and it's pretty clear that 51 hundredths is more filled in than 15 hundredths. So let's take a look at one more example. This time we're going to be comparing 37 hundredths to 3/10. So once again, I'm going to fill in the area model to represent each of the decimals. So I'm going to start with 37 hundredths. So there's 37 hundredths there. And then I'm going to represent, I'm going to fill in 3/10. So in order to do that, I'm going to need to fill in 1, 2, 3 of the columns here on this area model. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Use the fill function here. Alright, and so now I can take a look and see which one is larger, and it's pretty clear that 37 hundredths is more filled in because it also has the 1, 2, 3 columns filled in, plus it's got this little bit of extra on the fourth, which this one does not. So now I just need to write my my comparison sentence. So I say 37, oops, not 7. I would say, I'll write it down below so I have a little more room. 37 hundredths is greater than 3/10, or I can say 3/10 is less than 37 hundredths. So that's using the area model. We represent both of the decimals with an area model and then see which one is more filled in to let us know which one's larger. Another strategy we can use to compare decimals is a number line. And so I'm going to be using the number line to compare 4 5/10 and 4 38 hundredths. So you see down below I have my number line that is partitioned into tenths. So I have 4 3/10, 4 4/10, 4 5/10, 4 6/10. So I'm going to plot both of these points on the number line, and then I'm going to see which one's larger and which one's smaller. So starting with 4 5/10, that's already one of my landmarks on my number line, so I'm just going to go ahead and put a dot at 4 5/10. And then 4 38 hundredths, I'm going to start with the whole number, 4. I see that matches right here. Move on to the tenths, 3/10. Well, that matches right here. And then I need to move 8 hundredths. Each of these tick marks right here is equal to 1 hundredth, so I'm going to jump 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 4 38 hundredths is going to fall right here. And since 4 38 hundredths is further left on the number line, that lets me know that 4 38 hundredths is less than 4 5/10 Or I could also write 4 and 5/10 is greater than 4 and 38/100. So for the number line, we simply plot both of the decimals on the number line and see which one is further up the number line to tell us which one is greater. So in this case, 4 and 5/10 was further up the number line, so it is larger than 4 and 38/100. The final strategy we can use to compare is using our place value understanding. So this one doesn't actually use any models, but it relies on our understanding of the value of each of the place values in a number. So when we're using our place value understanding, we start at the largest place value, and then we compare moving our way down. So in this case, we're going to start in the ones place, which is the largest place value for both of these, and we ask ourselves which place value or which digit in this place value is larger. So in this case, we see that the 6 is larger than the 5, so that already tells us that no matter what our decimals are behind the decimal point, that 6 and 24/100 is greater than 5 and 24/100. So let's take a look at what happens when the first few place values are the same. So here we're going to start with our tens place because that's the highest place value in both of these numbers. And we see that they're both 1. So when they're the same, we move on to the next place value, which in this case is our ones place. And look at that. Once again, they're the same. So we need to move on to the next highest place value, which is our tenths place. And now we see that we have 4/10 in this number and 2/10 in this number. So this lets us know, since 4 is greater than 2 and 4/10 is greater than 2/10, that 13 and 42/100 is going to be greater than 13 and 24/100. So we have the larger number right here. So let's do one more example here. We have 7 and 9/10 and 7 and 99/100. So we're going to start with the largest place value in both numbers. We have the ones place. Looks like it's the same. So let's move on to the next place value, which is the tenths place. 9 and 9, that's also the same. So we're going to need to move on to the next place value, which is the hundredths place. We have 9 in this place value here, and we have nothing in this place value. So we could fill in a 0 right here. And so since 9 is greater than 0, and that means that 9/100 is greater than 0/100, 7 and 99/100 is going to be larger than 7 and 9/10. So we get our answer, and we have 7 and 9/10 being less than 7 and 99/100. So there you have it, 3 different strategies for comparing decimals. We have the area model, number line, and using our place value understanding. So you should be ready to answer all the questions in the day 6 problem set. But if you have any concerns or questions while you're working through those problems, you can come back and rewatch any part of the video to refresh yourself. So good luck with the problem set, and thanks for watching.